Okay guys, welcome back. I assume you've probably already watched the video on how to set up a Cisco router as a DHCP server. If not, you may want to go watch that video. If you just came here to find out how to set up a DHCP Relay Agent, just continue watching. But I'll put a link to the first video in this series down in the description, and that video once again is a video that shows you how to set up a Cisco router as a DHCP server. This video is about setting up a Cisco router to be a DHCP relay agent. So let's take a look at our diagram. The network over here on the left is the one that we had in our previous video, and router 1 is set up as the DHCP server. So we showed you how to configure that, the DHCP service on router 1. So PC1 is now getting its IP address from this DHCP server, and we've got a pool of addresses from 11.11 to .254, and we've got excluded addresses from .1 up to .10. So what we've added for this video is we've added another network here on the other side of a router. So this router has a connection to our previous network, the .10 network, and it has an IP address of 10.2. It also has, now I forgot to put the IP addresses over here, but so let me go ahead and do that. The printer here is this is the 20 network, and so we're going to use 20.5 for our printer. And we've also got 20.1, which is this interface on router 2. So this interface will be the default gateway for the devices on this network. PC2 is going to get its IP address from DHCP. Now, DHCP, the way it works is this computer is going to send out a broadcast to try to find a DHCP server. On this network, we do not have a DHCP server, and as you know, a router stops broadcast. So how is this computer going to get a DHCP address from this router, which is on the other side of this router? So the way you do that is you configure this router here to be a DHCP relay agent, which basically means it will listen for broadcasts that are destined for a DHCP server, and it'll act like the middleman. It'll accept that broadcast and then send it on to this router. So this PC has no idea that there's no DHCP server. Router 2 will see it, send it on to router 1, router 1 will send it back. So let's go ahead and get this all set up. First thing we want to do, there's something I left out when I was setting up this network, and I left it out on purpose because a lot of the times it's the kind of thing that might come back and bite you later on. You've configured everything with your DHCP correctly, you can't figure out why it's working, and this is just a common thing that may happen. Is that we haven't set up a route yet in router 1. So router 1, let's go back here. Router 1, it doesn't know about the .20 network. So even though router 2, it has an interface on both subnets. So router 2 knows how to get to anything on this network, and it knows how to get to anything on this network. So it'll accept this broadcast from PC2 and it'll send it onto this router, but then this router says, all right, well, I don't know anything about the .20 network, so I don't know how to get back. So we're going to go ahead and do that, even though it's not really DHCP related. We just wanted to add that in for troubleshooting purposes. So we're going to go into configuration mode, and we're going to type IP route 192.168.20 20.0 subnet mask. And the way we're going to get to the 20 network is through router 2. So we're going to type its interface IP 20.1 or sorry 10.2, and we're just going to do a test ping. So we're going to try to ping the printer on the other side of that router, and that was successful. So our routing is set up, and now we can go ahead and configure the relay agent. So the first step, you would think we're going to set up a relay agent on router 2. The first step would be to go over here and configure that. But the first thing you need to do actually is on your DHCP server, which is router 1, is we have to set up the pool for the .20 network. So I'm going to just do a show run, and you'll see we already have a DHCP pool here called network 10 that we set up for our 10 network. Well, we have to do the same thing for the .20 network. So we'll go into configuration mode, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tell it which addresses we want to exclude from DHCP. So in this network, we did a pool of addresses from .1 to .10 that we excluded. Over here, we're not going to have any other servers or network devices that we're going to have to put on this network. So we're just going to exclude 20.1 and 20.5 from our DHCP pool. So we're in configuration mode, and to exclude addresses, the command is IP DHCP excluded -address, and you can do a range of addresses here, or you can do a single address. So in this case, we're just going to do a single address. We're going to do 20.1, which is our router, and then we're going to do 20.5. We're excluding that because that's already configured on our printer, so we don't want to give out those addresses. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and create our DHCP pool. So we do that with the command IP DHCP pool, and then you give it a name. So we gave the other one network 10. We'll just call this network 20. And now we're going to define our network. And in the last video, you may remember the last thing I did was the network command, and that was because I didn't want our DHCP server giving out DHCP addresses before I was ready for that. In this case, it doesn't matter because we haven't set up the relay agent on router 2 yet, so it's not going to get any broadcasts from network 2 or network 20. So we can go ahead and do this now, and it's not a problem. So the network we want to give out addresses on is the 20 network. So you put the network address and the subnet mask. So right now it's ready to give out addresses, but we're going to go ahead and tell it what we want our default gateway for the 20 network to be. So the command for that is default-router, and then that is going to be the interface on router 2 that is on the 20 network. So that's 20.1. And DNS server is DNS-server, and we're going to give out 4.4.4.4 as our DNS server. So we're done with our configuration on router 1. So let's go back over here. And just to show you, we'll first make sure we're ready to get our IP address from DHCP. And then we'll go in here and just make sure that at this point we're still unable to get an address. And that's exactly what we expected, because right now this is enabled for DHCP. It's sending out broadcasts, but you know, those broadcasts are getting stopped here at the router. So the next step is on router 2. We have to set it up as a DHCP relay agent. So we're going to go into configuration mode, and you actually do the command here. You do it on the interface because we're only listening for broadcast on the 20 network, so there's no reason for it to listen for broadcast on the 10 network. In fact, that would really screw things up because you know the router 1's already listening for those. So we're going to go into interface 01, which is the interface that is on the 20 network. And the command we're going to run is IP helper-address, and then the IP address of router 1. So what it's doing is saying when I see a broadcast for DHCP, I'm going to send that broadcast, or I'm going to send that request to 10.1. So at this point, we should be able to get an IP address on PC2. And boom, before we did anything, it already did it on its own. So there we go. We've received the IP address 20.2. Our default gateway is 20.1, and DNS server is 4.4.4.4. So now let's see if we can ping the printer on our network here. And that is successful. We can ping our router, and not sure why we can't ping the printer over on the other side, but as you can see, we've got our IP address and we're pinging devices. So at this point, that is all we've got for this video. You've learned how to configure a router as a DHCP relay agent, and in an earlier video we also learned how to set up a router as a DHCP server. And like I said, I'll put the link for that video in the description below this one. Thanks for watching.